Zoroark, the illusion fox Pokémon, a dark type first discovered in the Unova region. Zoroark are creatures of seclusion, with most choosing to live a life away from others, and those who dare disturb them will be punished with deadly hallucinations. These Pokémon are capable of creating lifelike illusions, able to disguise themselves as anything, and can even cause whole groups of people to be fooled into falling for their traps. Despite this and their ostracized nature, Zoroark are not malicious beings, far from it. They're actually very tender, putting their life on the line to protect whatever they hold most dear. But if anyone were to be foolish enough to threaten that which Zoroark loves most, those fools will become the victims of Zoroark's wrath, forever trapped by its deception and will never see another day of peace. And now, we'll see Zoroark use its deception on the field of Pokémon Unite. Let's take a look at just what it could do. Zoroark I can see in the Speedster role, having excellent mobility and great supporting options. It will be on the frailer side, but that's alright, it won't really need it. Zoroark will start matches as Zorua, and will evolve once it reaches level 4. Its ability will be none other than Illusion. This is a bit of a meaty explanation, so please sit tight. Using certain moves will allow Zoroark to disguise itself as the first opposing Pokémon that those moves hit. Only players though, it cannot disguise itself as wild Pokémon. To your opponents only, you will look just like that Pokémon, copying that player's username and all. However, this doesn't apply to the player Pokémon that you're disguised as. That player specifically will still only see Zoroark. So if you disguise yourself as a player, they may never know that you did so unless they can figure it out for themselves or if one of their teammates alerts them. Zoroark's disguise will break after it receives a certain amount of damage or if it uses a move, but the illusion cannot be broken by the player that Zoroark disguised as. It can only be broken by their teammates. It's also not just their appearance that Zoroark will copy, it'll also mimic their basic attack as well, completely replacing its own to use the basic attack for the Pokemon it's disguised as, using it identically to that Pokemon, allowing Zoroark to be both a melee and ranged attacker depending on who they disguise themselves as. On top of that, while disguised as an opponent, attacks from the other 4 opposing teammates will not automatically aim at Zoroark. It can still be hurt by their attacks, and it can still be targeted if opponents manually aim their moves at it, but otherwise, they can never accidentally hit you while disguised. Finally, while disguised as an opponent, their icon on the minimap will actually disappear from their teammates' screens and be replaced with Zoroark's position, appearing on their maps as the Pokemon that they're disguised as. It's a lot to take in, but fairly simple once you understand. As you've probably already ascertained, this ability allows Zoroark to act as a type of spy class, capable of sneaking behind enemy lines and confusing the opposition. If you're too obvious, you'll get found out pretty quickly, so it will take truly skilled players to be able to master its tactics and completely throw your opponents off. You can use this to scout, steal farm, trick them into wasting their attacks on the wrong targets, and of course, stabbing them in the back with a preemptive strike when the opposition least expects it. When faced with a Zoroark, its opponents will be second-guessing everything. Zoroark's basic attack will be a 3-hit melee physical attack, and unlike all other Pokemon in the game, it will not have a boosted attack by default. This is because it will copy the boosted attack from any Pokemon that it disguises as. As I said, disguising as a Pokemon has Zoroark replicate their basic attack and allows Zoroark to either be a melee or ranged attacker. It even uses the same stat type for the boosted attack that it copies, so it's physical if it copies a physical attacker, and it's special if it copies a special attacker. This won't be a problem since it is pretty equal in both of those attack stats, but by default, it is normally a physical attacker for this moveset. For the first of its starting moves that it gets as Zorua, it can be Feint Attack. This has Zorua do a quick dash forwards while it does a swiping attack, dealing damage to anyone in its path. If this move lands, it'll cause Zorua to disguise itself as the first Pokemon that it hits. And if you use Feint Attack again while disguised, it'll break the disguise, but it will also give the move a higher than normal crit chance. Its other starting move can be Torment. This is an auto-aim move that allows Zorua to place a Torment status on any foe within range. While afflicted by the Torment status, the next move that Pokemon uses will have that move's cooldown increased by 1.3 times its current cooldown time, forcing that Pokemon to wait even longer than usual to use that specific move, after which the status is used up and goes away. There is a way around this. The Torment status doesn't last for very long, and will wear off automatically if it takes too long for the afflicted Pokemon to use a move. It can also be removed with the likes of Full Heal or moves like Blissey's Safeguard. Now, upon evolving into Zoroark at level 4, that'll be when you can replace Feint Attack with one of its 2 new permanent moves. The first of these is U-Turn. This has Zoroark do a quick dash in a U-shaped trajectory, effectively dashing forward, then immediately turning around to dash back into the way that it came from. At the peak base of the U-shape, it does a Claw Slash to attack anyone within range, and as soon as the move ends with Zoroark dashing away, it also turns invisible. Invisibility for Zoroark can work kinda like how it works for its fellow Dark-type Greninja. It only lasts for a few seconds or until you attack. On top of that, if you manage to deal damage to an opposing Pokemon, it will disguise itself as the first Pokemon that it hits. Using the move again and not hitting anyone breaks the disguise, but using it out of a disguise and hitting someone with it will give you a new disguise. So you can potentially remain disguised for as long as you want, so long as you keep yourself from getting hurt. And when U-Turn is upgraded at level 10, the amount of time that Zoroark can remain invisible will be increased by a bit. So this can be a pretty scary move, allowing you to get in a quick Sucker Punch, get away, then maybe return or go somewhere else while disguised. And it could be even scarier if you use this into a group of Pokemon, cause then they'll have no idea who you disguised as or where you disappeared to, possibly making them second guess their own teammates. It can require a bit of tactical thinking to use though, but there is always the other option, which is a tad simpler: Copycat. While not disguised, this allows Zoroark to choose who it wants to disguise itself as without needing to get close to anyone. It does still have a limited range. You can't just be whoever you want regardless of where they are on the map. But the range is very generous, large enough to target any foe within your detection vicinity. If there's only one foe in range, then you just copy that foe. But if there's more than one, then it gives you the option to pick one of the 2 foes who were closest to you, letting you pick in the same way that you pick which moves you want to set when given the option. Now here's the cool thing about Copycat. After disguising as a Pokemon, Copycat turns into whatever move that Pokemon is currently using in the same button slot as Copycat. To give an example, let's say you copy a Charizard who currently has Flamethrower or a Snorlax with Heavy Slam. Copycat actually turns into Flamethrower or Heavy Slam, and it functions identically to how the copied Pokemon use their respective moves, applying all of the same effects and damage specs based on Zoroark stats. So while disguised, Zoroark can actually use the move just like the Pokemon that it disguised itself as. And on top of that, this is a move that will not break Zoroark's illusion, adding that much more to the deception. As soon as the disguise is broken though, the move just turns back into Copycat. Oh, and when Copycat is upgraded at level 10, it just activates the same natural upgrade for that move that it copies. So between U-Turn and Copycat, U-Turn is much more technical and slightly less safe for initiation since you're required to get close to use it effectively. But it does give Zoroark an excellent escape tool, letting you disengage quite easily if need be. Whereas Copycat is much simpler to use for disguising purposes, and it allows a large variety of different attacks depending on what your opponents have. But it is a little less safe as well. You won't have any reliable getaway options if you get found out unless the opponent you copied is using one, but that's not always guaranteed. Plus, since it can only be used if the opponents are in your detection range, that means they'd also be able to detect you before you get the chance to disguise yourself. So the only real good way that you can get away with it effectively is by using it from within the bushes, or using it then immediately KOing a lone opponent before their teammates are any the wiser. And even then, that second option really only works if your teammates aren't in a call together. They both have their pros and cons and can both be very effective with someone who can be crafty enough to use them properly. It really is up to preference on which strategies you'd prefer. Anyways, level 6 is when Zoroark gets its second option of moves to replace Torment with. The first of these is Knock Off. This has Zoroark do a quick short-ranged attack forward, dealing damage to all Pokemon hit by it. Any opponent hit by this who currently has a battle item not on cooldown will be dealt extra damage. And on top of that, their battle item will be put into a forced cooldown for the next 6 seconds. This turns into 8 seconds once the move is upgraded at level 12, and an additional effect is added where if Zoroark lands knockoff on a foe whose battle item was already on cooldown, that reduces the cooldown of knockoff by half. Oh, and on top of that, landing this move will also disguise Zoroark as the first Pokemon hit by it, as if you're knocking off their look. Though it will break the disguise if used otherwise. Knockoff may not seem like much, but it can let you play all kinds of mean mind games with your foes, letting you keep them from using their battle items if time dwell, or faking your opponents out and forcing them to use their battle items prematurely, which could be just as detrimental to them. And for the final attack, it could be Imprison. This could work as a stronger version of Torment, acting as another auto-target attack that can place a status onto a single foe. Just like Torment, a foe using a move while under the effects of this status will cause that move to have a longer than normal cooldown. But since Imprison is stronger, it causes the cooldown of moves to be put into a 1.8 times cooldown as opposed to Torment's 1.3 times cooldown multiplier. Though this becomes a 2 times cooldown multiplier when upgraded at level 12. With all of that said, Imprison becomes even scarier if you happen to use it on the same opposing Pokemon that you yourself are disguised as. Doing so will cause that Pokemon's moves to be put onto a 2 times long cooldown automatically, and it turns that opposing Pokemon invisible only to their teammates for a short time. So if you have Imprison and you come across the Pokemon that you're disguising yourself as, you can remove them from sight and force them to not be able to do much for a little bit, giving you an opportunity to completely replace that Pokemon without their team being any the wiser. And to top it off, Imprison is also a move that will not break Zoroark's illusion, but only if you use it on the same Pokemon you're disguised as, otherwise it will break the illusion. So in short, Zoroark is a spy through and through, having all kinds of nasty tricks and deception to really throw its foes off guard. But by no means would having this kit make doing so easy. You'll have to really play well to fit that role. Think carefully, plan out your actions, be aware of your surroundings, and overall, don't crumble under pressure. For Zoroark's Unite move, acquired at level 9, I call it Dead of Night. A more powerful version of Zoroark's signature Night Days, this has Zoroark release a huge explosion of dark energy all around itself, dealing one massive hit to all foes within the area of effect. On top of that, foes who aren't KO'd by this blast will be blinded for a few seconds, unable to see anything or anyone around them, making this a great Unite move for disorienting opponents crowded up in team fights, and acts as a perfect option for your team to gain the upper hand or even get away if you're in over your heads. And that does it for What If Zoroark was in Pokémon Unite! So, if you have any Holowear ideas for Zoroark, any of the previous Pokemon I've made Unite movesets for, or even any Pokemon currently playable in Unite, share your ideas in the comments. Or, if you want to make artwork for your ideas, share that with me as well on Twitter with the hashtag WhatIfUnite. I'd love to see them, and I'd be more than happy to show off your art in the next episode, though please be sure to put your signature on them. In which case, if you enjoyed what you saw and would like to see even more Pokemon be given possible Unite movesets, be sure to subscribe. Also be sure to go check out Krashy's channel. He's been a big help in developing these movesets, and he's been great with helping others improve on their skills at Pokemon Unite. So definitely look him up if you want to increase your win rate. And if you want to support my channel and help me be able to make more content for you guys, you can click the join button either below the video or on my main page to become a sponsor for my channel. Doing so will get you access to my Discord server as well as channel emotes. You can guarantee that your name appears in my videos or even get the option of knowing what if characters are coming up next a week in advance. I really do appreciate anything that can be contributed. And of course, if you have a character that you want to see be given a possible Unite or Smash moveset, leave a comment down below or contact me on Twitter at BrawlFan1 on Twitch. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching!